Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance and minutes can reflect the roll call of the various trustees and staff. Let's move on to item 3. A motion for the approval of the 3-7 committee of the whole, the 3-7 village board, and the to file the 2/8/2022 public safety committee, the 2/14 board of public works minutes as presented.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. As always, comments, questions, clarifications on the minutes.
I have one.
Okay.
The minutes for, the amended minutes for public safety for February 8th on page 2. We added the section about asking for a motion to recommend approval. But then the second sentence there, Jesse, that says, motion by trustee Harbeck to table the discussion to the next meeting.
Okay.
That's not what happened. I actually then made a motion so that we could converse more about the topic to get it on the table. So I made a motion to approve. And then there was no second.
Okay,
So there were technically 2 requests for a motion. The first one, I asked for a motion, there
Okay.
was none.
okay,
The second one, I made a motion to put it on the table to discuss it,
yep,
and there was no second.
okay,
So we did not table it.
okay. No second was made to the tabling motion,
Yeah, the tabling section is incorrect,
to table.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that's it.
okay,
Okay, that being said, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Nobody on Zoom, anybody in the audience wishing to be on a non-agenda item? Non-agenda? Let's move forward. Any information has been presented in normal fashion. Let's move on to item 6. Resolutions, ordinance, action items. We have one item, and that is the report of the Board of Public Works. As I mentioned before, I saw every item had been unanimously approved. Looked like there was a majority of the board there. I will ask if the board is okay taking the entirety of the report as one motion, or if you want to split out into individuals. And of course, this does not preclude any discussion. I entertain a motion to approve the report of the Board of Public Works.
I'll make the motion.
I will second that. Motion is second, and Amber is right here for any comments, questions, preference here, so open it up. I got my question answered. I know how they change in the backs.
So I only wanted to add one thing. The first item is recommending the board seek the engineering proposals for Cedar Street. And Public Works had said as soon as possible. And I know you are looking into that, Jesse.
Yep.
And I guess my only other question would be, or request would be to try to get this started, completed before the end of 22. And if not, it needs, I would like it to be put on as the first item done in 2023. That was a comment
Sure.
about that.
absolutely. No, staff is fully well aware of the priority assigned to this project and matter coming out of the Board of Public Works discussions. And what we as staff want to do for you, the decision makers, is provide a scope of what the issues at hand are, because we believe that there are multiple factors playing into the issues in and around the Cedar Street area, whether it's our own infrastructure, whether it's a high groundwater table, whether it's overland stormwater runoff. We believe there's multiple issues here to address. So I think it's staff's responsibility, and I think this is a first good step forward with the seeking engineering proposals to define the issues at hand. That said, then we can look to identify solutions and funding sources to address the issues at hand. But I want to be very, very clear. While this is a deliberate approach, staff is fully aware of the priority attached to this, and we do want to keep moving this forward. Amber and I, as a matter of fact, met Tuesday right away following the Board of Public Works discussions to kick off how do we best proceed. So absolutely understood. Yep.
And, hold on.
I just wanted to say that I'm happy to hear that you're looking at other aspects for what the problems may be over there, because I would hate to see us spend $1 million or so on infrastructure improvements and still wind up not that 100% assures that it's never going to happen again.
Right.
But we've got to come pretty darn close to that. After
Agreed.
spending that kind of money and thinking that this is the solution, because there may be other solutions required. I had an opportunity over the weekend to talk to a gentleman I know going back to the 70s, and he was the contract planner for the Village of Grafton back in the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
Remember Marty Marchak?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he shared with me what that land was like before development occurred, and definitely a wetland. And
Okay.
probably in hindsight, it should have been developed in a different way.
Sure.
Or not developed at all because of that wetland issue, but
Mhm.
that's history. We've got a problem. We've got to make sure that what we do is money well spent.
So the end, just for clarification, it's not an engineering solution. It's really evaluating what is going on over there, what's the best way to approach it.
And looking at the neighborhood as a whole, right? We don't want to focus just on this street because we've
Right.
all of a sudden been made aware that there's issues on this street. We want to look at the storm sewer system over there as well as the sanitary system in that neighborhood to make sure that we look for all possible issues before we start figuring out a solution.
Other questions for Amber?
Yes, I do. So any movement, I guess, on the leasing of the trucks? And does that program for DPW relate to these 2 trucks that we're now going to be purchasing?
No, one is a utility truck, and the other is heavier equipment. The leasing program that we're looking into in the Public Works only encompasses the smaller staff pickups. This hitch and go truck is a larger piece of equipment and not part of the lease program.
Okay, so the Silverado 2022 Chevrolet Silverado, is that a
The-
regular pickup truck?
It is a bigger truck. I forget if it's a 250 or a 350. It's larger than our normal office pickup trucks.
Okay, because is that similar to the one that the chief is leasing? Police department?
I believe that's an
No, it would be
F-150.
similar to what our chipper trucks look like now.
Okay.
If you consider going to the street.
All right, that was my question about that. And the only other thing was trustee Delort had mentioned at the committee meeting somehow to, in the future, maybe get a handle on if we're purchasing things with savings from sales from used vehicles, let's say, if we could try to understand that amount so that we're not just authorizing
Oh, sure.
vague amounts with the answer of, well, that's coming from savings or
Right.
sold equipment.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Staff can update reporting of revenues of equipment sales. Absolutely.
Did you have any questions? Okay, anybody else? All right, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Move on to item 7, department and officers reports.
Certainly, a couple of updates for the village board this evening. Last week in my weekly bulletin, I noted a law enforcement grant being awarded by the state of Wisconsin for law enforcement agencies statewide. Updated information based upon the funding formula being population calls for service, I believe. The village of Grafton's police department is looking at about $26,000 grant from the state of Wisconsin. That said, we will be coming forward to committee to establish a special revenue fund to book those grant award dollars into and also to identify projects, because there are specific stipulations as to how those dollars can be used. Recruitment, retention, technology improvements, community policing, and professional development. So it's a very limited scope as to how those grant dollars can be utilized. Met with command staff today to start getting a thought process behind identifying projects that fall within those criteria to bring forward as part of, again, setting up that account to receive those grant dollars. So that will be forthcoming, and that's a nice update to what we're expecting here through the state of Wisconsin. Also update again, because we've gotten quite a few questions in person primarily regarding absentee ballots. In January of this year, there was a court decision which basically negated the use of the drop box. So folks either need to drop their absentee ballots that have postage on them in the mail for them to be mailed back to us, or they may drop them off in person. However, you can only drop off your own ballot. I could not come into Village Hall and drop off my ballot and my spouse's ballot. My spouse would have to be with me to drop off her ballot in person. We have had to turn some folks away from the front counter. You know, in good faith, they're trying to come in as part of their family and drop off their family's sealed ballots. We cannot accept that. A person has to deliver their own ballot, or the best course of action we would recommend, there's this postage on there, put it in the mail back to us. We cannot utilize the drop box because of that court decision. So our drop box out in the parking lot. So we do have that out there. We've tried to start an information push. We've got it out there on social media and the website, just trying to get word out there because we have gotten some inquiries.
So do you check ID when you drop it off? So any old man could come in with Mrs. Smith and that's acceptable.
Well, Mr. Smith, right?
Well, if he
But-
says he's Mr. Smith, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'll answer that. There's nothing in the statute that requires a clerk to check ID when someone is returning an absentee ballot. So we can't, impose our own ID requirement that is outside of the statute. Much the same as a ballot that comes back in the mail, we don't know who put it in the mailbox. The law governs the person returning it, not the clerk.
So basically, as long as it's sealed up and signed appropriately, correct. We because in accord with statutes, we don't check the ID of that person dropping off, but there is the signature and the sealing.
And the ID check process for absentee ballots comes at the front end with the
Oh,
request.
sure. That's true too.
What are you doing with ballots that are put in a drop box?
Katie, I'm sorry.
Have not put into that as of yet, but if we.
But
do
you may,
see-
right?
We may. If people do put ballots in the Dropbox, we will call them and tell them that they cannot put it in the Dropbox, and please come pick it up. And we cannot mail it back to them either. That's specifically stated that we can't mail a voted ballot back to a voter. So we will personally call them and tell them that they have to come pick it up and then hand it right back to us in person.
Well.
It is. That's, yep.
Government,
With that, my only other quick update is very happy to report we have confirmed April 22nd as an employee recognition event in person. So a step back towards normal. Our employee committee representatives from different departments have gotten together. They've organized this event. I've signed off on it. And so information is out there April 22nd to recognize recent retirees as well as tenured employees as well. So pretty excited about that in-person event coming forward. So those are the updates I have for the village board this evening.
So I may have missed something, but what kind of activity is going on north of Boston?
That was great. Our hot topic.
That was only because that was a topic of discussion at this morning's management team meeting. That is the concrete plan for the state's highway project. Yep.
Amber, Gretchen, where are we at for the additional staffing, DPW and utility?
Yeah, so exciting. We do have two signed job offers for the two utility positions. We're going through all the pre-employment screenings of those right now, but hopefully everything will go well. We'll have a couple new employees at the utility in a couple weeks. And then I haven't looked today. I probably have 6 or 7 applications so far for the DPW crew person. That's open for another couple weeks.
Well, Amber, can you tell your staff, thank you for the fencing around the playground, it looks great.
Yes,
It
we'll do
looks
that.
really, really nice.
Thank you.
Amber, any update on what was going on the 17th Avenue lift station over the weekend? You know?
Yes,
Okay.
when we built the lift station and rehabilitated it,
a number of years ago, and they put the fence around it.
Last year.
Last year, okay, see, rookie me. They talked about it in the morning meeting. They actually, when they put the fence in, they actually clipped the electrical wire for the lift station. They've been, We Energies has been out there twice. And yesterday they spent about 3 or 4 hours out there, replacing the wiring, the electrical wiring to the transformer that's out there. So it should be completed. So we have to fix the fence, I understand.
Yeah, so, I don't know if somebody called the utility over the weekend. I meant to and went out of town, but the lift station was basically running continuously.
Well, it was the generator,
Okay.
and our staff go out every single day, and yesterday morning, when Eric Narodi, who was on call, went to check the lift station, he noted that it had been running about 18 hours.
Yeah.
So that made him trigger that something wasn't working, went and checked, the power wasn't working to it, and contacted We Energies. So we evidently are not supposed to pour concrete or putting the fencing in near electrical wires. Whoever our contractor was actually went right through the wire.
So that little area will be fixed up at some point
Right.
with the fence. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, let's move on to licenses. We don't have any. Let's move on to report of bills. Making a motion for approval of the bills expenditures, $400,000, $796.38. I see that there's a little bit of a change in format and the standard questions and answers. That's on. I will entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions on the bills? Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 10, motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.